Hey everyone, and welcome back to Strength Foundation. If you are grinding for that NSCA-CPT exam, then you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're diving deep into Chapter 23, all about resistance training for athletes. We're going to break down everything you need to know to absolutely crush this section on your test. Let's get to it.
So think about this for a second. Training your average client to get fit is one thing, right? But what does it take to build a true athlete? That's the big question this chapter tackles, and it's what the exam is really going to test you on. We're moving beyond just general health and into the world of peak performance, precision, and planning. This is where the real science of coaching comes to life.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll hit the two foundational principles you absolutely have to know. Then we'll get into measuring strength with the 1RM. After that, we're tackling the biggest concept in the whole chapter, periodization, and the two key models you'll see on the exam. And of course, we'll wrap it all up with the key takeaways to make sure this stuff sticks. All right, let's dive right into Section 1, the essentials. Before we can even think about building these complex programs, we have to nail the two principles that everything else is built on. Trust me, the NSCA loves to ask questions about these, so you'll want to pay close attention here. It all boils down to these two ideas. First up, the overload principle. This is basically the how of getting stronger. You have to keep challenging the body by progressively adding more stress, whether that's more weight, more reps, whatever. If there's no overload, there's no adaptation. It's really that simple. And second, we have specificity. This is the what you're training. The training has to actually look and feel like the sport. A powerlifter's program and a swimmer's program should look totally different, and this is exactly why. And this table right here, it is a perfect example of specificity in action. Just look at these. For a basketball player who needs to make sharp passes, a medicine ball chest pass is a no-brainer. It directly mimics that movement. For a soccer player, a split squat builds that single leg power you need to kick a ball. The big takeaway for your exam is this: always, always connect the exercise you choose back to the demands of the athlete's actual sport.
Okay, so we've got our principles down, but how do we know how much weight to actually put on the bar? That brings us right into Section 2, measuring strength. This is the key to prescribing the right training loads.
And the cornerstone for prescribing intensity is the 1 repetition maximum, or as you'll always see it, the 1RM. It's simple. This is the absolute maximum weight an athlete can lift for a single repetition with good form. Think of it as your North Star. Every single training percentage and load prescription we're going to talk about is based on this one number. Now, let's be real. Actually testing a true 1RM can be pretty intense, and you're not going to do it every week. That's where this table becomes your best friend as a coach. It shows this really well-established link between how many reps someone can do and what percentage of their 1RM that weight likely is. So for instance, if you see your athlete knock out 10 reps, you can be pretty confident that's about 75% of their max. Let's see how that works. Okay, let's make this super practical. Imagine your athlete bench presses 160 pounds for a solid 8 reps. You look at this chart, find 8 reps, and see that it lines up with about 80% of their 1RM. From there, the math is easy. You just take the weight, 160, and divide it by the percentage, 0.80, and boom, you get an estimated 1RM of 200 pounds. This is a critical skill both for programming and for the test. All right, we've got our principles. We know how to measure strength. Now it's time for the main event. This is the big one, periodization. This is the master plan, the blueprint for how we organize training over weeks, months, and even a full year to get an athlete to their absolute peak.
So what is it? Well, put simply, periodization is the strategic plan variation of training variables, like how heavy you lift and how much you do over time. It's the opposite of random. And for the exam, you need to know it has two main goals. Number 1, prevent overtraining and burnout. And number 2, make sure the athlete hits their peak performance at the most important time, like for a championship.
The easiest way to think about periodization is like a set of those Russian nesting dolls. The biggest doll on the outside, that's the macrocycle. That's the entire training year or season. You open that up, and inside you have a few mesocycles. These are specific training blocks, maybe 4 to 6 weeks long, each with a different focus. And then inside each of those are the smallest dolls, the microcycles. That's your week-to-week, day-to-day training plan. And within those cycles, training moves through these very distinct phases, one after the other. You start with a hypertrophy phase to build a solid foundation of muscle and work capacity. Then you transition into a strength phase to make that new muscle as strong as possible. After that, you teach it to be fast and explosive in a strength/power phase. All of this builds toward the competition phase where everything comes together. And just as important, you finish with an active rest phase to recover before you start the whole cycle over again. Okay, for your exam prep, this slide is pure gold. I'd seriously recommend pausing here and really studying this table. It pulls together everything we just talked about: the phases, the goals, the reps, the sets, and the intensity. This is the perfect snapshot of what a classic, traditional, periodized program looks like. Now, that classic plan we just saw, that's known as a linear model. But it's not the only way to do things, and the NSCA will definitely test you on the other major approach. So that brings us to Section 4, comparing linear versus undulating periodization. Here is the absolute key difference you need to remember. Think of a linear model like a college semester. For 4 weeks, you only study hypertrophy. Then, for the next 4 weeks, you only study strength. Then you do a block of power. You focus on one thing at a time. An undulating model is more like a normal school week. On Monday, you have a heavy strength day, Wednesday, you have a lighter hypertrophy day, and Friday, you have an explosive power day. You're training all of those things within the same week. So here's what that linear model looks like in practice. See the hypertrophy phase? High reps, lower intensity. Now just follow the program down from week to week. You can see this super clear straight line progression. The reps steadily go down while the intensity, that 1 RM, steadily climbs up. It's a very predictable block-by-block approach. Okay, now completely switch gears and look at this. This is the undulating model. See how different a single week looks? On Monday, you might have a heavy strength day, but then Tuesday could be a light, higher rep day, and Thursday might be all about explosive power. The focus literally waves up and down. It undulates, all within the same microcycle. You're constantly touching on all those different athletic qualities.
Whew, okay, that was a lot, I know. But we've covered all the heavy lifting. Now let's boil it all down into a super simple cheat sheet so you know exactly what to focus on when you're studying for the exam. Here it is, your Chapter 23 cheat sheet. Number 1, overload and specificity are the foundation of everything. Number 2, the 1 RM to rep chart is your go-to tool for figuring out training loads. Number 3, periodization is your long-term roadmap to avoid burnout and peak at the right time. And number 4, linear models go block by block, while undulating models change day by day, which makes them perfect for athletes with long seasons. All right, pop quiz time. Let's put this to the test with a practice question straight from the textbook. For an athlete in a sport with a really long season, like basketball or hockey, which model is best for training during the season? Is it A, linear, or B, undulating? Think about it for a second, lock in your answer.
And the answer is B, undulating periodization. And here's the crucial why you need to know. During a long season, a basketball player can't afford to take 4 weeks to only focus on hypertrophy. They'd lose their speed and power. The undulating model is perfect because it lets them touch on strength, power, and hypertrophy every single week, maintaining all of their athletic abilities so they're ready to go on game day. Master that concept and you're going to do great on the exam. Keep up the hard work.